Welcome to the March 24th, 2021 CPC meeting. Agenda item number 1 will table, which is a review of the March 3rd meeting minutes. Meg has some stuff going on related to schools and COVID, so she wasn't able to make the meeting. So we'll table that. We'll jump to agenda item number 2, which is Don Sanders and team discussion regarding the technical feasibility of restoring the Victory Theater murals and step 1, technical feasibility, and then step 2 is the potential to display those murals in a public, restored murals in a public space in the city, pending their hopeful eventual relocation to the Victory Theater. So Don, I'll turn it over to you if you want to introduce who you have with you and then walk through the technical feasibility and how that dovetails with the opportunity to display those murals sooner rather than later. And just as one last comment, I think that that second part of the discussion comes from an understanding that, that there's a desire to see CPA funded projects happen in a shorter period of time rather than being contingent upon a lot of other steps. Doesn't preclude it, but I think there's has been members of the committee who have expressed those concerns. So with that, have at it.
Okay. Thanks very much, Kip. And it's great to be here. So with me is Vitek Kruta, Mike Vivieros, who is the architect for the Victory, and Kathy McKean. And I just want to say, we're very excited about what, through the discussions with the committee and committee members, that this idea for the murals, a new idea has emerged that I think is very exciting. The idea that we could restore the murals now and then exhibit them so that people could have the pleasure of seeing them. And then the final part would be putting them in the Victory when the Victory is restored. But the great thing about doing it this way is that we are not, we're restoring the murals. And, so we wanted to amend our proposal with the idea that what would happen now would be that Vitek, along with Jeff Green from Evergreen, would unroll the murals and see them at their state, and they would then go into actually restoring them so that they could be exhibited. And the beauty of that is that it gives, once those are restored, it gives the public the joy of seeing these murals, which are so associated with the Victory, the Miragliati paintings. And it also becomes an exciting prelude to the theater's opening. And the really important thing is, I think, it ensures that the paintings are saved for posterity in the very unlikely event that the theater isn't restored. So I feel it's a wonderful outcome. And we have a presentation to show you of the murals, etc. But I want to just be very specific that what would happen is that the murals would be unrolled. What the kicker here is that Vitek has pointed out that once the murals are unrolled, we can't re-roll them and put them back, etc. They should go into the restoration phase right away. And the restoration phase includes whatever, and Vitek and Jeff Green have spoken about what ideas would be for fixing them to a surface, etc., so they could be exhibited, say, at City Hall Ballroom. maybe the War Memorial. Vitek has pointed out that they are in 4 sections each. There are 2 of them, so there are 8 pieces. They might be displayed separately. If they're all put together, they're 12 feet by 21 foot high. So those are big. So they would have to be in a space, that could accommodate them. So the idea is that we would ask the CPC to support the project in the amount of $80,000 because we're not affixing them into the theater when that is would be a whole other issue, a part of the construction and not dependent upon CPC support. So I think if we could look at the murals and look at this plan and then have questions directly afterwards. So Michael Vivieros, could you roll the camera?
Raise your screen. Don, can you see?
Yes, I can. Great. So this shows where the murals go on either side of the proscenium of the stage. What you're looking at is there on the left is the proscenium, and then on the right you see the 2 with the oval tops. Those are the murals that go on either side, and they are 21 foot tall by 12 feet wide. And each one is divided into 4 sections. They all make one picture. Here's the way they looked just before they were taken down by Vitek. I'm going to say, well, it was 10 years ago. And you can see the scale that they are on either side of the stage. And they're just sensational. They're sensational pictures. Here's a close-up. And as it says, they're deemed historic and artistically significant by the Massachusetts Historic Commission. They were painted by WPA artist Vincent Maragliati in 1942. He probably did them. His studio was, I think this is really kind of cool. His studio was in Grand Central Station. So he did them there and then brought them up and then, did the finishing, so that you can't tell they're in 4 different sections. You can sort of see on the left there where the sections break down. But what Vitek would do is, of course, bring the whole thing back to their most pristine, perfect Renaissance beauty. And then when they go back up or in how we figure out to exhibit them, they would be look like one whole mural. These are photos of when Vitek took them down, and there they are lying on the floor of the lobby up in the Victory, and you can see the process of their being very carefully and perfectly put in a way for storage. You follow the story there, and then you see them hanging on down in the lower right-hand corner, those sections. If you look carefully, you'll see all what Vitek did is they're all divided into squares, tangents. This is Vincent Maragliati, the artist at work, and it shows some of the other projects that he's known for. The theaters are the Roxy in New York, the Majestic, the Schubert, the Strand, and then hotels in New York, the Waldorf Astoria, the Biltmore, Sherry Netherland, the Lexington, the Copley Plaza Hotel in Boston. Murals and artwork, the State Museum of Pennsylvania, St. Martin of Tours Church, Stock Exchange Luncheon Club, Jesse Jones Gulf Building in Houston, Texas. That's one of my favorites. And the murals can also be found in state capitals of Pennsylvania, Texas, and Washington. This is a brief history of the WPA, which stands for the Works Progress Act and Administration. And it was a way to put artists from all aspects, both the performing and the visual artists, to work during the Depression. And there's become increasingly more and more awareness of the importance of the WPA artists. And it's really great that we in Holyoke have an incredible example by really one of the best of the WPA mural artists. And here's Vitek at work. This is when he was working, well, he'll tell us, I think, Vitek, is this from the church?
St. Joseph in Lowell.
Right.
St. Joseph Church.
So we had Vincent, where we had Vincent Maragliati at work, and here we have Vitek. Vitek is a terrifically credentialed restorer. You know, when we looked at this whole issue over 10 years ago, we knew Vitek was the right person to do the restoration of the paintings. And we're very lucky that he is on board. So here's the scope of the work. The murals were removed from the Victory and are being safely stored. Each is 12 by, well, I said 21, 22 feet. They're comprised of 4 sections as originally painted by the artist. The largest sections are 6 feet by 12 feet. So the idea is to absolutely, as soon as possible, we unroll the murals, which Vitek would do with an assistant, and Jeff would be there, and the guidance of the architects thinking about ahead to when they go into the Victory. Vitek would provide the updated testing and evaluation, remove temporary facing and clean, stabilize, including consolidating paint layers, add a lining and interlayer, mount each section to a custom rigid panel for temporary display and future reinstallation of the Victory, retouch and in-paint missing paint, apply a protective varnish. Murals are ready for display, and install the murals for public viewing. Then the final phase would be, but we're not dealing with that now. Once the Victory is restored, restore the walls, prepare for reinstallation of murals, install the mural panels, 4 per mural, and fasten the panels together, infill paint between the panels to create seamless murals similar to original process, complete installation of moldings and plaster. But that's part of the construction that we're not dealing with now. And that's the beauty of this idea, that we get to rescue those pictures now and have the pleasure of seeing them and putting them on public display. So getting back to this process, there's nothing can really be exactly known. It's known that the murals can be restored. Everybody agrees on that. How they need to be, what they would be faced with. There's an issue of lining with new canvas. There are all sorts of processes that can be invoked, but those will really, they will say themselves once the murals are actually unrolled. And then Vitek and the gang would get to work on fulfilling the plan of strengthening them and putting them on a backing or in whatever way that will make them displayable. This is information about Evergreen Architectural Arts. That's Jeff Green, and he's responsible, Evergreen is responsible for the overall interior of the Victory. Has some wonderful credentials. The one, let's see, that I love is, I've said it before, the Radio City Music Hall. So we have great people working on this. We have Vitek, Jeff Green, Michael Vivieros, and the folks that the assistants that they bring in. And I have every confidence that we could have something really wonderful for the city. Yep, that's an architectural rendering of what they will look like when they go back into the theater. There's the stage with action on it and audience members. Okay. Thank you, Michael. Vitek. Jeff couldn't be with us tonight. He's, well, I don't think we should feel too sorry for him. He's in Italy working on a project there. But the team has spoken over the past 3 weeks, and we had very productive meetings, etc. So I would like to answer any questions,
So, Vitek, do you want to add anything to what Don just presented to the committee?
Well, I think the most important information has been said. I can answer pretty much just the technical part, which is quite complicated, and I'm not sure it's needed right now.
Yeah.
Or go ahead, ask any questions about that if you have.
Okay. So we'll go and Mike Falsetti, Michael Villeros, do you have anything that you want to add to what Don and Vitek have said so far?
No, other just to reiterate that it's very possible.
So Mike Falsetti, go ahead. You have a question.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is for Vitek. So by definition, both murals are restorable.
Yes.
Okay, both of them are.
Yeah.
Now, for the budget figure of $80,000, that would be the cost of restoring them to their full original, if you will, condition, and being mounted at the Moore Memorial or City Hall. Is that correct? $80,000 is the amount? Is that my understanding? Or?
I don't think we got into this kind of detail yet, because the new aspect that has been added to this project is public display outside the Victory Theater.
Right.
And if you can imagine, once you put it together, you are talking about something that is 200, 300 pounds, 22 feet tall and 12 feet wide. We are going to have to attach the canvas or to rigid substrate that has to be engineered panel. So I would have to still look up these kind of details and what the final price would be. But I can safely say that within that range, we can still make it work. Yes.
In terms of the time, if you were to start tomorrow and everything was in place, how long does the process take? A ballpark.
I would say it would be 2-3 months.
Okay, so Don, to understand,
Yep.
is your thinking that you would remove your existing request for $100,000, your application, and you'd put in a new application with this new wording and the new process and the new budget figure? Is that what you're thinking?
We would amend the current one, because to reflect what we think what can happen for $80,000. The murals can be restored and made able to be have public display. So
and
we would be removing the part in the current application about there being fixed to the Victory. That
right.
would be, yeah.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Don, in the event, is it implied or will it be stated in the contract that if unfortunately, and very unfortunately, if the Victory Theater does not make it because of the lack of funding, by definition, does this become the property of the city of Holyoke, the two murals?
We've looked at all sorts of, and it's been very great to have the input from like Jeff Green, et cetera, because they've dealt with murals at the Louvre in Paris, et cetera. We would come absolutely to some agreement that the city was comfortable with and MIFA was comfortable with. It could take various forms. It could be a permanent loan to the city. One of the things that we would want to both the city and MIFA would want to make sure that something similar to like what happened in the Pittsfield Museum where the museum gets together and sells the Rockwell. We would want my absolute demand would be that it be something that is airtight in the sense that whatever protects the pictures and keeps them as part of the patrimony of the city, in the city. And there are various ways to do that. And, yeah. And
No,
that would be
no,
part
that's-
of this whole project. Yeah.
No, fine, done. Now, that's a good idea. Very good. Yeah, I'm all set, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, great. Thanks, Mike. Anybody else have questions at this point?
I have a handful. Some are simply about procedure because this is an exciting application, but I believe it's you can call it amended, you can call it new, but it is a new application for something quite different that I think deserves taking a careful look at, and having the detailed budget and giving the public full opportunity to comment on this. I think we're going to need to resolve some of these details because as we all know, for CPA, we need to be able to identify a broad public benefit to this. And the benefit to restoring the Victory Theater is so obvious that we don't even have to state it. It would be enormously beneficial to have the Victory up and running and restored. The value of the murals for art lovers and just historians of the city, may be substantial, but I think, again, it's something that we have to get citizen feedback on. And we need to probably identify a place where the murals can be displayed once they're restored. And I kind of wanted to ask about whether it would be possible to do the work in phases according to what we find or what the team finds as these murals are unrolled and examined, because I'm looking at the original application for funding from 2 years ago, and there's a document that describes the work to be done in detail, I think for historic tax credit purposes. And the paragraph I'm looking at says number 16, architectural feature murals, approximate date of feature 1942, describe existing feature and its condition. Murals are in extremely poor condition. The images are faded beyond recognition, and the canvas is severely damaged from water and mold. The plaster, the plaster would have to be taken out and replaced, we know that. So under describe work and impact on existing feature, it says, because the condition of the murals prohibits restoration, the murals will be removed. In an effort to bring the stage back to the original 1919 configuration, box seats will be reconstructed at the orchestra and lower balcony levels. And it goes on and explains why that's historically appropriate to do. But it seems clear that at some point somebody looked at this, and just from the pictures we saw, it looks, through my little screen, like the heaven side of the original. I can see what the image is. The hell side, and Vitek, you're the expert here. There's the center of that appears to be entirely missing. What do you do?
Okay, so let me compare this to someone who is just brought to the hospital and it's covered with blood, okay? There's a residue of the plaster that has been oozing on top of these. So what you see, the white spots and all that, is actually covering the paint. So that it looks like it's missing, but it's covering it with this white layer of plaster that's on top of it. So the paint, the original, is still there and it's still underneath it. But the pictures are looking horrific, just like a patient coming to a hospital covered with blood. It's the same kind of way of looking at it. Once it's clean, you would be amazed what comes out of it. There is definitely damage, that there are certain spots on the murals that the paint peeled and cracked and it's missing. But on this large scale, you can, this is called in-paint process, where you can actually identify what the painting was and paint in whatever was missing. So that is normal procedure. How would you restore these kind of
Yeah, and that's very reassuring because I understood that that was how you would do it with the relatively small lacunae, but those big patches of white I thought were probably paint that had been scraped away, and those were kind of nervous making.
No.
So your professional opinion that is completely different from the opinion of whoever wrote this document.
Right.
If I could just interject maybe about that report was for the Massachusetts Historic Commission when they went before their panel to assess whether the Victory as a whole building should be given the stature of an important historic building. And there were two possibilities of either, as you mentioned, the boxes. Originally in 1919, there were boxes where those murals are, would have been the original architecture. But what even the report that you read did not stop the Historic Commission from making the decision that the murals should go back. So that was the assessment of somebody looking at them, but they are actual, when they made the verdict, which decided that luckily the Victory was a historic building, they actually made it a condition of the unrolling of the tax credits and all that the murals go back. So it's, I'm just trying, it sounds like what Vitek says, a horrible case, but it's a case that they knew could be solved, with restoration. And so they made it a condition of the award that the murals go back.
Well, and experts can have different opinions. That's why the world has second opinions in it.
Yep.
But yeah, no, that is enough so that I think it's worth pursuing this and seeing if we can get the details nailed down and how the city feels about it. And Kip, I think you're trying to talk and you're muted.
It's true. That's the first time I've done it in a while too. Marco, do you have any questions? You're our historian.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
I was having some trouble with my headphones and mic. No, I don't. I think I think Mimi's point is well taken, and that's what I would be concerned of is setting aside funds for, a dead-end project. If too much was missing and they couldn't be restored, that'd be one thing. But it sounds like they are restorable, and that's reassuring. Are we going to help decide where they go, or is that not up to us, or is that a part of this? Is there like a new application?
So Marco, I think those are good questions, and I would suggest that as a condition of funding, that the committee has the rights to approve where they would be installed, among other contract conditions.
And where I was going with that is, excuse me, Kip, I didn't mean to interrupt, but is I understand what Vitek was saying about having to, either mount or somehow put them on a substrate, like some kind of engineered wood substrate that doesn't expand and contract. But I wouldn't want to do that, go through the expense, put them somewhere else, and then have to take them apart? Like they should go on their final substrate so that you're just removing the panel already attached and not having to handle the canvas multiple times. Is that possible?
It's not only possible, it's necessary.
Okay, good.
Once you start to move these things around, it has to be rigid.
So when you restore them, you're going to mount them on some substrate, which will be the permanent substrate.
Yeah.
And that way, when you go to hang it, you're not having to handle the canvas anymore. And that would be important.
Yeah.
I'm all set on this. I think this now makes sense to me, and I like it.
Izzy, you have any questions?
My only question is, when you go to display it, if it's going to be outside, I'm sure it's going to be protected, right? That's the only thing for me. Like if they display it outside the building or wherever they display it, hopefully
it cannot be outside. I'm sorry to interrupt.
All right. So then where would it be displayed then? I'm not understanding then, I guess.
So inside at City Hall or at the
Okay.
Memorial, someplace with big space. You
Okay.
know, and I think that that is, you know, and I think
No,
both of those are good options. But
no, that makes sense.
you're all
Yeah,
set?
yeah, that makes sense. I'm all set.
Okay. Any other questions or comments out of the committee members?
No,
Anything that you guys want to add? Mike?
Mr. Chairman, Don, is the next process, it appears we're in agreement in principle with everything you want to do, which is a good idea. Is the next step, Don, to you is to create a new amended budget and request to come before us next meeting or the following meeting? Is that your next plan?
Well, let me interject a little bit. We could do that, or we could do it verbally, right? They reduced the ask from 100 to 80, and with the contract conditions, you know, this has all evolved from concerns that these murals technically could not be restored, and the idea of, well, unrolling them to inspect them. And what I think we've heard is that's not a viable, you can't unroll them and re-roll them. So if we're going to unroll them and inspect them, let's make that the first couple steps of a restoration. And then it was, well, if you're going to restore them, what do you do with them until the victory's ready? And there does seem that there's this opportunity to exhibit them in some public space in the city. So just proceed down kind of logically that path. So I think what we're looking at is a verbal request to amend their application to reduce it from 100 to not more than 80. And of course, it's not the full 80, it would just be reimbursed for direct expenses, with a contract condition that those get to be exhibited in public space approved by the committee. So I mean, I think we can handle a lot of these kind of contract term questions in contract negotiations and not go back to, you know, submission of, it's just going to take another meeting and more time to do that. You know, we've done this with several applicants. Remember, JFK came in looking for 6, we bumped it to 10. You know, we were talking about other applicants where, with the Parks Department, could we just do the playground and not do the ball field? I mean, I don't think this is outside of what has been committee practice, certainly within our authority. And recall also, you know, we're going to make a recommendation. Next that we do is make a recommendation to the city council. They get another bite at the apple there to ask if they're not comfortable with some procedure or some contract terms. So my preference would be to deal with it tonight. We've had like 5 meetings with these guys, and you know, to go through the process of asking them to submit another written application, which basically is going to say exactly what the last one did. So,
okay, Mr. Chairman, pardon me for interrupting. Do you want to? Are you asking for the committee to have a motion, a second, and a vote on everything that was discussed regarding the restoration of the murals for a budget figure of $80,000? Is that what you're requesting?
yes.
I have to object. I like this project, and I would like to see a real detailed application. I think it is very different from an application for $100,000 to go to eventually the restoration of this theater. The public benefit is different. The structure of the contract is going to be different. We have not identified where these murals might live. We have not had public comment or an opportunity for public comment. And I don't think we can just amend things on the fly this way, no matter how enthusiastic we are about it. I agree that we have done some things like it in the past, although I don't think we've done it where we were radically changing the nature of the project. But I think we need to jump through the hoops. And I think that protects everybody.
Okay, so I don't know how the rest of the duly noted, you know, I don't know how the rest of the committee feels. I'm comfortable proceeding, but you know, I'm one vote, one person. So
I kind of agree with Mimi in the sense that just to keep it uniform across the board for the like some of the projects you referenced, yeah, we gave some more money or didn't take money away, but they didn't kind of change the details in the projects. Here the details are a little changed. They're kind of altering a little bit, and I would like the application to kind of reflect that in case anyone ever goes back to reference it, and we get to see that the application says what the project actually ended up doing. I don't know if when we amend it, someone will go back and rewrite the application, amending it, saying that it is going to do the work that we amended it to do. But if that's the case, then I guess then it is what it is, right? But if not, then I would kind of prefer for everyone too, not just this particular situation, just to always go back and go through the process all over again, just to keep it uniform and fair for everybody, even though it kind of is tedious and time consuming. But I don't know.
At the very minimum, I would suggest checking with the law department before we allow an amended on the fly oral, what the hell, we will just approve this new application for something quite different to go through.
I've been raising my hand hoping you will call on me. I just wanted to mention that, yeah, the law department for the city does look at the applications when drawing up the contracts and the restrictions. And so it is really important to have that. And I think the other situations were different circumstances where we at least had an application where we knew the scope of work and the budget and so forth.
Okay, Marco, how do you feel?
I gotta say that as much as I would like to move forward and see progress, I do feel like this is a little too different than where we started. I'd like to get all the foundation work done so that we don't run into any hitches later on. But I think it's important that we've arrived at like at least an informal approval and an understanding. It shouldn't take too much longer to formalize it, should it? And I think that's in everybody's best interest, including the public.
Okay, so you know that's. Seems to be the consensus. Mike, you agree with that? You would...
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, if you and the committee are in agreement, I would make a motion that we ask Don to submit an amended application to go into detail about the cost, the scope of the work, the time period, and the conditions that where it will be put, and who will be the ultimate should the victory not occur. Who will be the ultimate owner and responsibility of the owner, and all that kind of stuff that Don raised. I think it'd be a good idea, and I'd like to make a motion that we wait for his new amended application, read it, talk about it, ask questions, and then vote on it.
Okay.
Second.
Do we have a second?
We do.
Okay. Any more discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
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 So Don, you understand?
Yep.
Get this amended application as quickly as you can. We'll act on. We'll get on agenda for our next meeting if we get it in time. And and we'll.
I guess that would be my question. I mean, I think it's very reasonable. And what the timing would be. When is the next meeting?
Well, we don't know yet, but
okay. Okay. The only reason why I bring up the timing, and I think everything that this has just been really great. It's an exciting project, and I think can speak for Vitek and Michael and Jeff that it's and Kathy. It's exciting that you capture the excitement of it. I do have to say that the thing that's so difficult about it is that once we unroll, we've got to go. Okay, so that's, so in other words, the detail that we can provide, will have to be, it'll have to be understood that Vitek can't necessarily answer, or Jeff, they can't answer absolutely everything about what will happen, how it will happen. They just, as you just heard, it will happen. So that, so we would have to work very fast once those unroll to actually go into the restoration. But I think it's very exciting.
So I guess my comment to that would be, one, I would question like Vitek's schedule. Is
Yeah.
when, is Vitek have a window here to do this work or some flexibility? So how's your schedule looking, Vitek?
Well, right now we are still dealing with COVID and everybody is at home. No one is working.
Right.
So, we are looking at least till the end of the year to figure out who can work on this, how it all could be done. It's not going to happen in 2 weeks,
No.
obviously.
Right.
So also, it has been stored for 10 years. So again, if we are looking at maybe of 222, I think that could be a reasonable time frame to deal with this.
Okay. So put a schedule in the application, Don. Maximum amount. I mean, estimated cost. Not to exceed. We all know the way that this works. It's reimbursed for direct expenses. It's not going to be a check for 80 grand that you can then, play with. What other? And I do think that if we have an opportunity to explore where temporary exhibiting of these works for the city, that would be very valuable information to have in that application. So we're going to put one together. So as soon as you get us an amended application, we will deliberate and okay. So thank you. I mean, I think that's it for now. Anybody else have anything they want to say? We're all good? Okay, we'll move on with our agenda item then. Michael, Don, Vitek, thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome to stay.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Pleasure.
All right, so we're off to agenda item number 3, which is a review and approval of contract terms for previously approved 2021 projects. We also have, maybe out of order, we have Stephen Huntley's been very patient sitting here. We have a review of the VOC agreement. Might it make sense to go out of order and take Stephen up and so he can, does that work for everybody?
Sure.
All right, so let's do that. Amy, are you prepared to present the VOC agreement and what
yeah, I have some notes about that. Let's see. Jenna in the city solicitor department is working on this, what the VOC's attorney submitted, which is this amendment. And there is one area I noticed that needs to be addressed by the committee. The report with the funding updates in the amendment is 1 year later, along with everything else, and listed as January 31st, 2022. But this is after the automatic termination deadline of September 1st, 2021, which was added. So it doesn't seem to make sense any longer now that the automatic termination date has been added. So I did send you all the draft from the lawyer that you can see. And so maybe it makes sense just to get rid of that other, that funding update completely, because it would be after the automatic termination, or make it some other type of update. I don't know.
I think that's a great idea. Just take that right out of there, because no reason for a funding update unless he's already received his funding.
It was a function of the vote. The vote was extend every deadline 1 year. I think it was something along those lines, and insert the September deadline. So it's just a function of how the vote panned out.
Is everybody on the committee comfortable with that,
Well,
James?
but just let me ask a potentially silly question, which is I'm looking at the September 1st termination date, but it's terminating if and only if the funding commitments necessarily for the full construction of the project haven't been obtained at that date. If they have been obtained, then presumably it won't terminate and these new dates may still be relevant.
Correct. Except there would be no need to get a funding update because.
Yeah, well, I don't see a funding update. I see, oh, right, report funding updates for project to be completed. If it, yeah, we could just take that line out, I guess.
Is that the only question that we have left, Amy, on Stephen Huntley's
I
agreement?
think so. I hope you all got to look at the amendment because I know that you want to see all contracts that are signed, and there were some changes that Jenna made from what Stephen Huntley's lawyer had on here.
Yeah. They're legalese type things.
Yeah, they're not major. Okay, so I can just tell her to take that out.
Does that work for the committee? Anybody have any concerns about that? We don't need to vote that, right? That's just, okay. Well, so is that it, Stephen? Do you have anything else on that contract?
Nothing else on that contract. I just yeah, wanted to let you know he supported removing it or changing things around and you know, to continue the, you know, the intentions of the year extension, which you so generously agreed to.
Okay, great, thanks. So we'll do that. We'll recommend to the law department that they remove that sentence. And since we have you and it's out of order again, but just, you know, you still have a pending application for rental assistance, and I wonder if you have any updates on that, and then you can leave. You don't have to hang around to talk anymore.
My update is a good one, a positive one. We received notification from Alicia from the city's housing office, I guess it is, or economic. No, it's not economic. That was Marcos. In any event, from Alicia Zoller, who I'm sure
Development.
That we were awarded an additional $52,000 through our community service, community development block grant CARES resource that we received from the city already. That came in about 2 weeks ago. It'll be 2 weeks ago tomorrow, actually. So I would be comfortable tabling this even further if the committee's comfortable tabling it, or I'm pleased to talk about it as well. I, again, don't mean to stall it. We submitted the application a year ago as really knowing this was a very precious resource, this being the CPA, and weren't sure what was going to happen. And I don't mean to sound like I'm stringing you all along or anything like that. We're just trying to use this as the resource of last resort.
So, and I think we understand that, and you know, and I think we can remain flexible regarding what your needs are. You know, we talked enough about the, you know, CPA program allowing emergency applications and things like that. And, you know, as much as, we all understand that this past year has been dynamic, a lot of moving pieces to this thing. So I just, you know, want to make sure that we're responsive to what your needs may be, and that you know that you know, the committee is interested in you know, accommodating your request, not approving funding, but accommodating your request if it comes up as in like a more of an emergency or more immediate need. Okay, Mike Falsetti, you had something you wanted to add?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, as a point of order, if my memory serves me correctly, both under item 6 of the agenda, one Holyoke and also the VOC rental assistance, at our last meeting, both of those never received an approval for or a motion. They were dropped. There was no vote on it, and so correct. I'm not. Why are these back up here for consideration? Well, at our last meeting, no one supported them. Well, both for item A and C.
So Mike, that's a very good point, and I'll tell you, you know, my thinking on it is, you know, we have this kind of moving amount of money, which might, you know, impact whether someone wants to make a motion to fund something or not. And I don't think we need to take them off the table for this meeting, at least, to be able to continue to discuss whether someone wants to make a motion to fund one of these things. So I don't think that that is out of order, but I'm certainly open to hearing how it might be.
Mr. Chairman, I'm at a loss. If we vote or on a particular application, yay or nay,
Yep.
is one thing. But for both these applications, neither one of them received a motion to accept or a backup. So I'm not why are we keep talking about this? The committee expressed its opinion at our last meeting. We didn't honor, we weren't open to funding either item A or item C. That was that was the conclusion.
So I don't necessarily agree with that. Respectfully, Mike, I mean, I think if you think about chronologically how we've handled the applications this year, we started off with a list of whatever 8, and we've whittled it down to these 3, and we haven't taken any action to not fund any of these things. So why do we just cross them off because at the most recent meeting someone didn't make a motion to fund it? That's my thinking. I don't have any grand plan as to why this is or why not, but I personally do not support typically motions to not fund something, but we're certainly, committee members are more than authorized to make such a motion, and we can have discussion and a vote on it. But that's just my thinking. Like, it wasn't like, why cross, just because at the last meeting we didn't take it up and nobody recommended funding, why should it come off the list? And again, that's just my opinion about how.
Mr. Chairman, we did talk about it. We absolutely did talk about it, both of them. And the will of the committee was not to fund either one. That was talked about.
I don't think that was the will of the committee, though. My sense was that the will of the committee was to hold off on those applications because we hadn't really resolved what was happening with the MIFA application, and we weren't sure how much money we were going to have. And rather than vote anything up or down at that point, we wanted to see where we were after these questions were resolved. Now, I'm not sure that that means that there is support for either of them, but I think that they've been kept on the agenda because we didn't vote them down. We just kind of said, or at least some members of the committee said, not now, we're not in a position to make a call on these now.
Izzy, you have something you got?
Yeah, Mimi pretty much summed up where I was at. I don't remember us ever saying no to any of the projects. As well as I don't remember anybody saying yes to them either. But I'm kind of happy that they're on just to be spoken about, even if we don't vote, even if we all vote no on them. You know what I mean? Just to give everyone a fair chance. I feel like the last meeting we didn't get to give everyone a fair chance. Those 2 topics just was like quick and out because it took so long on all the other topics. I guess that's
Marco, I saw you raising your hand. You wanted to add something?
No, I was trying to say I can't hear.
Yeah, I was about to hear what you were saying at the end there, Izzy. But I
Yeah,
think,
oh my bad. Just because I'm on the phone and my hand is covering the phone. I don't want the phone to die on me. It's charging. Now, so I guess as reiterating what Mimi said with regards to giving everyone a fair chance, and I don't remember us voting yes or no with regards to those 2 particular projects, and we got caught up with the details in other projects that took so long that we pushed it over. That's what I remember. But I don't know. Thanks for keeping them on, I guess.
okay. Anybody else have anything you want to say about this matter? Or we'll go back to the agenda, and which agenda item number 3. Stephen, you're all set with that with our conversation and where you are on the application and
Or just for the procedure, I wonder if it'll be on next month's agenda, or if I should reapply, or what the pleasure is of the committee. That's all.
So, I mean, only speaking for myself, you know, I do think that your application is a placeholder. If you were to come to us and say, I need the funding now for some reason, and then the committee will deliberate whether to fund or not. You know, I think asking either the committee voting or asking you to withdraw it and then submit something as an emergency is, but the clock is ticking. You know, I do think the committee is going to have to take some action in this fiscal year. So, but again, you know, we have lots of pathways, you know, to for consideration of funding rental assistance. But, you know, it just seemed to me that this one sitting there is like a placeholder and, you know, lets us act more quickly in the event that you need us to. So I think
Thank you.
My preference would be to just let it sit as it is, and if it's on next month's agenda, and you know, and you don't have any news for us, you don't have to attend. I don't think, you know. There's always a chance someone's going to make a motion to fund or not fund it with you're not here. So a little bit of risk, but
believe me, this isn't the worst part of my week, so I'm happy to keep coming.
Okay. Well, we'll see. We'll let you know when we're meeting next.
Excellent.
All right.
Thank you.
Can I have a question? One question for
Of course.
Sure.
Mr. Huntley. Let me turn my camera back on real quick. I'm sorry, my phone is charging and it's like offward to the side and stuff. So I guess my question is around with like the funding, right? Will there be a certain point where you can let us know that you could push it off, that we could wait and push it off until the next funding cycle then? So that way we're not just hanging on to the money too as well. Because eventually, because right now we're what, March, about to be April, soon we'll be in FY22, right? If we get to a point where it's May, right, and you still don't need the money, can you communicate with us and let us know that you would like to pursue the same thing, but for the next funding cycle? So that way we're not worried about it this funding cycle anymore.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I believe your funding cycle starts in September. Is that right? Or is it July? Is it just?
I thought it was July.
It's July. Okay. So yeah, I will, for what I'll do is I will have that for you in April. I'll do my best to have something for you in April. To let you know if I think we're good through June, then let's put this to bed with the idea that I may be coming back in the summer, fall.
Right. Just so that we can have like I guess.
Absolutely. No, perfect sense. Makes perfect sense. I get it. I entirely get it.
All right. And if Amy, if you could check to be sure that the funding cycle starts in July.
It starts later than that. I mean, I don't have it in front of me, but I think that the application is due in, or the eligibility, the first phase is in September.
Okay. So then whichever way, just to give us more information of where things are as well, so that we can either hold on to the money or be able to say, well, you know what, he doesn't need it for this side, so we don't have to technically worry about it during this funding cycle.
I in no way would hate to tie up money just for fun. That's not been my goal or
No. I hope that's not what I'm insinuating either.
No,
it's just
I get it. And it's a very fair, very, very fair, Israel. So thank you.
Yeah, and just to be clear, right, we have a regular funding cycle where eligibility applications are due and then deliberations like that. We have an emergency funding ability too. So I think July, the new fiscal year will be we'll have money left over from this fiscal year.
Right.
but it will roll. So we can start funding stuff out of the, next cycle under an emergency, under small grants, under emergency kind of off funding cycle. So like kind of fiscal year funding cycle are, I believe, two different things to be thinking about. Okay.
Great.
All right, Stephen, thank you again.
Thank you
Thank
all.
you.
Have a great evening.
You too.
Mr. Chair, Kip, we have a member of the public who has communicated with me that they would like to speak about the murals application, but it's up to you whether you want to open that up. I'm just letting you know.
Oh, yeah, sure, of course. For a brief period of time, though, please.
Okay, I'm trying to ask her to unmute, but nothing.
I've done so, Amy. Thank you.
Okay, great. If you want to start your video, you could too, or maybe.
All right. Okay.
And we need name and address for the record.
Great. My name is Nancy Capron, and I live at 72 Congress Avenue in Holyoke, Massachusetts.
Great, thank you.
You're back on mute.
Oops, you're muted.
Okay. Yeah, my name is Nancy Capron. I live at 72 Congress Avenue in Holyoke, Massachusetts. I came here because I'm interested in housing preservation in terms of gentrification and displacement, but I don't have anything to speak to on that tonight. But when Mimi said that she feels it would be important to have public hearing about the murals, I just want to say, as a member of the public, I feel like that's important, and I strongly would ask that the public be asked for comment on the restoration, the murals, sorry. And if it were to go forward, if there were a way, depending on where we are in the pandemic, if, Holyoke Public High School art students, the kids that might go on to art or, be very interested in it, if there were a way for them to, have a little class or session or be brought in to watch Vitek work or something, I think that would be a decent thing. And that's all I have to say. But the public comment, I think, is very important. Thanks.
That's, I highly appreciate both of your comments. I think it's a great idea to think about how you can integrate educational opportunities into projects that we're funding, including the murals. We're doing it right now. Proof's in the pudding. We have public meetings and the public's welcome to attend, and we're open to hearing comments. So thank you. All right, so let's
I've been just sending messages to the members of the public privately, but if you want me to unmute people, just let me know.
Well, if they have questions, right, they are comments that they want to make, then and you're aware of that, then let us know, and we'll obviously incorporate some public comments into our.
Okay, I only know if they respond to my message, but if you want me to just unmute people, I can also do that. It's up to you.
Yeah, I'm a little concerned about that, just unmuting blanket wide. But certainly if there's a way for them to raise their hand or to message with you that they have comments they'd like to make, and I'll try to be better about asking if there's anybody in the public that has a comment that they want to make. Sometimes I'm good at it, sometimes I forget. I think the world is here on my screen. Everybody that's attending is on the screen, and try to solicit comments from people that I'm aware are here. Okay, so let's go back to agenda item number 3, which is review and approval of contract terms. The first one on the list is the fire truck, and we had a little bit of back and forth on that. Amy, you and I did, about whether we resolved it. And I think that, I reviewed the video, and there was Meg, who's unfortunately not here, had kind of raised a question about, some kind of a preservation restriction on the fire truck. And then we got distracted by some other topic, and we didn't circle all the way back to fully resolve her question. But I kind of feel as if she's not here now to speak to that. And so I don't know if other committee members have any thoughts about whether, as a contract term for the fire truck, we wanted to add some kind of a preservation restriction, some kind of a restriction on the fire truck. Speaking for myself, I don't think it's necessary to do so, but that's, again, me, one voice, one vote. So Mike Falsetti, I see your hand up. What do you think?
Mr. Chairman and fellow committee members, I'm of the opinion that as a committee, our job is to review the applications, make sure they're in congruence with the state CPA, local CPA. But that's it. I'm not of the opinion we should be telling other committees or the city council or the mayor how to run their store. If we put a condition on to say, well, you can't sell, not that who would buy it, or you can't sell it, but that's incumbent upon the mayor. It's incumbent upon the city council, or it's incumbent upon the fire commission. It sure is not. I don't think we have the legal or administrative authority to tell another committee how to run its store. So no, I don't think there should be I don't think we should go there and demand that you follow us or you don't get the money. No, that's why you have the fire commission. They run their store the way they run their store. They answer to the city council and to the mayor. Or if it's city property, or by definition, it's the mayor's authority by definition, because it's city property. It's not our property. So I think judiciously and by the very nature of the scope of our responsibilities as a committee, we can't be telling other committee members or telling the mayor or the city council what to do with city property. That's not our charge. That's the way I feel about it.
Thank you. Anybody else on the committee have any comments about whether they would like to see some type of a preservation restriction placed on the fire truck? No.
No, I think we may well have the authority, but we don't have to because it's a city agency, and we're always getting into trouble with these preservation restrictions. And since we don't have to, maybe discretion is the better part of valor here.
Yeah, another issue is that for the other city projects, you have not required that. So
right, that's what I was going to ask.
You could hear from them saying, "Wait, how come you required it from us, but not from other city projects?" So
I was going to ask that. Thank you, Amy.
Oh, you're welcome.
Really, with the fire thing, I'm a lot more concerned about their procurement process than I am about stuff like this.
I mean, I think the chances, right, the risks of us using CPA funds to restore that fire truck, and then the fire department of the city selling that truck and using those proceeds for something else are slim to none. And I don't think we should waste 2 more minutes talking about it.
Beautiful.
All right, so we'll just leave that one alone.
Right.
Okay, so we're back on. So yeah, and Meg wasn't here to lobby first, so I don't know what her positions were, but. So the second contract term review is the JFK Memorial. What do we have there, Amy, for contract terms that the committee needs to be deliberating?
Well, I hope that you all got my email to print that out, because I really don't want to do a lot of moving around my on my computer because of the freezing tendency. But if you don't have it, I mean, either way, I can go through the columns with you. But basically the latest update from, oh yeah, I know what to say. The latest update from Mark Joyce on this was today. I think I forwarded that. I might have forwarded that to you, Kip. Is that he said that no increase in the money is necessary under the procurement policies of the city for projects under 10,000. It's not necessary for him to obtain 3 quotes as long as they follow good business practices. And the city engineer, Bob Parent, and the purchasing officer, Lori Bellinger, confirmed that policy with him today. He said, Scott Curran of JSC Construction LLC just returned from vacation 2 days ago, and we were only able to talk earlier today. I'll be getting his revised quote in a few days, but he assured me that his company would complete the JFK project for less than 10,000, probably not to exceed 9,500. So it sounds, I think that that was the only question on that one, because I think that you guys already looked at it, the chart. Although maybe not completely, because actually I'm seeing some question marks like the extension deadline. I have under deadline for completion, 6 months from contract completion, and because the original deadline was but wait a minute, but if they don't need more time, I don't remember if this means, so this means they would not have to pay prevailing wages because
It doesn't.
No, I think they still have to pay prevailing wages, but they are saying they need more, or they don't need more money, which is good news. But they don't have to go get the 3 quotes.
Three bids, right?
Okay, so I think that was why we were suggesting 6 months instead of the original 4, because it takes more time for the prevailing wage process as recommended by the procurement officer. So the deadline would be 6 months from the date of the signed contract.
So moved.
Everybody fine with that? 6 months for them to get the work done?
Sure.
And then we have an extension of 3 months if for some reason they need it?
Is that what you want?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then that's it. The other stuff, we're all good on that one, right?
Let's see if there's anything else. Okay, so
We don't need to concern ourselves with procurement.
Yeah, no, it looks like most of what's in red has been taken care of. They understand that the funds can't go to the shrubbery and stuff.
Right.
Would there be a need for a permanent signage at the memorial, or would that detract from the whole purpose? I don't know.
Mike Falsetti.
Yeah, Amy, I wouldn't do it because the John F. Kennedy Corporation or Historical Corporation has very explicit rules on how to portray JFK, whether in a memorial or a statue, and it doesn't say anything about what you refer to as CPA sign. So I would say no, because they're very strict. I was surprised when I read what their requirements are. If you're going to put up a statue of JFK or some writing or something to honor him, they have very strict guidelines, and none of them state any other sign except what's exactly said in their contract, allowing you to put up a statue, put up a script, or anything honoring JFK. So I think we're going to get into a lot of trouble. I mean,
can we put a banner off to the side?
No, I think
for a little bit of time period.
Yeah, can we still have the temporary banners?
Just off to the side for a little bit.
Temporary banner is fine.
This strikes me as very odd because yes, celebrities have name and likeness and publicity rights, but a lot of this is basic First Amendment stuff, and I'm not sure how they can really forbid us from putting a bronze plaque saying restoration paid for by CPA.
What are we going to get, lawyers and debate it? I mean, come on.
Well, lawyers and debate it, come on. Why not just have them put the 6x8 or whatever plaque up there as we do with any CPA project?
Mr. Chairman, and maybe it'll distract from the statue itself, from the monument. It'll distract from it. Leave it alone.
Maybe. So we will require them to put up the temporary banner when they're doing the work, right?
Yeah.
So and let's just ask them to put up a CPA plaque if it's allowed by their agreements with the JFK Corporation at their expense. I mean, that thing can't be $200. And if they come back and tell us that they can't put it up, if they're not allowed to put it up, then they don't have to put it up. But we'll just make a contract term that says if it's allowed by whoever they license that from, then they'll put it up. And if they're not allowed, then they don't put it up.
If I may.
Go ahead, please.
I think that, it all depends on how the sign, if they create a permanent one, what it's going to look like and where it's going to go, right? If they're going to put it on the actual statue, I don't know if I would be in agreement with that, because I agree with Mr. Falsetti where they're saying that it's going to take away from the whole statue. But if they're going to create like a small sign that can be off to the side on a park that says this monument was rehabilitated with CPA dollars or something like that, that, you know what I mean? Cool. If they're gonna put it on the actual monument, then I'd be kind of like reserved. But I think the temporary sign for now, and maybe like a handicap sign, instead of the handicap sign, it could be a CPA sign that says this park was rehabilitated with CPA dollars.
I think that, I mean, Mike Falsetti, you seem to have some knowledge about why they might be restricted from doing that. And I fully appreciate that. And you may very well be 100% right. So all I'm trying to suggest is let's just anticipate that might be correct. And so we just put in the contract terms that they'll put a permanent sign there if they're allowed to by whatever governing authority is over that. And I know it's not going on a statue. I mean, there's no way they're going to do that. But, you know, I don't know how. I don't know how.
They're rehabbing the park. They're not touching the statue. So there's no reason that it has to go on the statue.
Yeah, they are. They
but
are.
the steps, you know, it's all part of it. Like right? I don't, you know, honestly, I don't care. I mean, I just don't care whether they put one there or not. So you guys fight amongst yourselves and figure out what you want to put in the contract terms.
Okay.
What do you want?
The thing is for me though, right, is that when I drive to work at UMass and I drive to Northampton, I see all the time this project was funded by CPA money, right? Every other community I've seen it, and I don't know if it's an issue in those communities, right? Because every time we have a project and it comes to this part of the project, there's always an issue with it. And I don't know if other communities have the same issue, because when I drive by the other communities, you can clearly see what projects are funded by CPA. It seems like it's a common practice.
It is a common practice. And you know, the reason that I'm so baffled by the continuing fights over it is that I see this as such a small thing. You know, you donate a bench to the library. It is not uncommon to, if you're using that bench and you're looking closely, you might find a little bronze plaque there that says, this is given in memory of, you know, Mr. Jones, who did so much for this community. And nobody is bothered. It's a quiet little thing, but the community is doing this for the park. And I don't see why that should not be acknowledged, particularly since, you know, this is something that the community voted in and may be asked to vote out again. You know, why not make it visible what we're doing?
Mr. Chairman, we're not talking about a park bench. We're talking about a memorial to a former president. And that president and his family were very involved with Holyoke, and they all marched in the St. Patrick's Day Parade. We're not talking about a park bench.
So where is the crashing disrespect involved in placing some small, discreet acknowledgement of the fact that the CPA project has paid for the thing to be restored? I don't understand what the problem is here. And I don't understand why we're treating this like some sort of holy object.
Well, because let's bring it back. Mike has said that Mike Falsetti has stated that he's aware, believes, perhaps is a better way of saying it, that there are restrictions placed on memorials to JFK as to how you can modify them, add signs to them, do things like that. And so, as a member of the committee that would encourage there to be a CPA sign there if it's allowed, I would suggest language that says that, you know, if they're allowed to put it there, then let's put it there. And I can put myself into their shoes as to why they set the parameters that they set when they did originally with that. But I would also add that, you know, I would not change my vote about funding that project based upon their inability to put a CPA funded sign on it. So unless we're going there.
Perfectly comfortable with that.
I'm sorry?
No, I'm perfectly comfortable with your proposal, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Everybody else comfortable with that? Is he?
I'm totally comfortable with it. I think my only qualm is so for me is, if you want money, right? There are guidelines to getting this money. Any grant you apply to, there are guidelines to getting this money. When you apply from the beginning, you should know that you might have to put a sign saying that CPA gave you some of this money. It shouldn't come to anyone as a surprise. And I mean, I don't want to sound like mean or anything, but
oh, we lost you. We lost.
I mean, I'm saying, I don't want to sound mean, but if you're applying for a grant and then the grant has a requirement of you kind of saying you have to put a picture up or a sign stating that we gave you the money for this project, I don't know how that's kind of negotiable. Like, any grant you apply to, the requirements are laid out right in front of you. You can't negotiate federal grants. You can't negotiate state grants. But I guess, I don't know, that's the only qualm I kind of have with the whole signage thing, because we're going to always continue to run into this until we put our feet down and actually say, like, either we're going to put a sign for everyone. If you don't like it, well, then I'm sorry, or we're not. It's just, we got to kind of like get that down. It shouldn't be a negotiation every time.
And I don't think they're even asking us to not be subject to this sign requirement.
I'm sorry, Mimi, I couldn't hear you. Could you repeat that?
Yeah. And as far as I know, they're not even asking that they not be subject to putting the sign somewhere that is not on the statue itself.
Okay, so can I make this suggestion then? Let's make this part of the contract negotiations, right? And we get a last bite at reviewing, right? We're providing terms that are going to go to the solicitor. She's going to draft up a contract, and then we're going to see that final contract, right? The term, and let them negotiate. And if they can put it up there, why would they resist putting it up if they're allowed to? And if they're not allowed to, you know, would the committee withdraw approval or recommendation of their funding? This hasn't been to the city council yet, right?
I think this one has been, although.
Amy, has this been to the city council? No.
I have to look on my form. I'll tell you in one moment. It has. I don't think it has, though.
It hasn't.
It hasn't. So, you know, is this a key term for making a recommendation to the city council? That it
has not.
I mean, you make a good point. I'm not, you know, but I do, but, you know, would we?
What does the application say?
Yeah, I wanted to mention that the application, I believe, does say, because I wanted all the applicants to know up front what to budget for. So I'm pretty sure I did include, you know, that they'd be responsible for permanent signage as well as the cost of recording a restriction if they had to. So I wanted them to know that up front.
Okay. So here's the other way of handling it, right? Put it in our terms, and if they need to modify it, they've got to come back.
Yeah.
Like just say they got to put a sign up, but they can come back to us and plead their case either with the law department or back to us as to, you know, that they're not allowed to do that. And then we'll have to make a decision whether we want to fund a project that doesn't have a sign or not.
Sure.
Okay. Does that get us there? Marco, you good?
Yep, I'm good.
Good. All right, great. So next we have the contract terms.
Oh, we haven't finished going over the charts for, oh, maybe that's what you're referring to.
I think we have finished because everything else was more or less, I think, went away when.
Right.
We didn't go over the War Memorial or Mayor Field terms.
We're doing War Memorial right now.
Okay.
That's the next on the agenda.
Okay.
You want to walk us through those terms, what we need to address?
Okay, so the War Memorial is for the facade restoration for $60,000. That's the award. And the applicant, the recipient, is Chris Sims of the Holyoke Soldiers Memorial Commission. But I understand through Bob Parent that Randy Malek does a lot of technical things. I'll get to that later. Then the deadline for completion of the project, we have here 90 days from the date of award. They had said 30 days to the final solicitation, 30 days to hire a contractor, and 30 days for completion of work. Lori had said to add 2 to 3 months for the procurement process, public bid, etc.
So moved. That's fine. Mr. Chairman?
No, that's fine. Add the time.
So what, let's see, we want to add 3 months more to it?
Well, if that's what the pro says it's going to take.
So basically it's 6 months.
Yeah.
Correct.
Looks like.
Okay. And I mean, I could double check with Bob Parent on it if you want. If he thinks it can be done for less, would you want to just go with what he says, or would you have to revisit that?
You mean from time perspective? How long?
Yeah, because he's going to be working with Randy Malek at the War Memorial on the procurement process.
Yeah, yeah.
So
if we give them more time than they need, you know, it's reasonable. 6 months. They only need 4, but we gave them 6. That seems to be. It's not like the difference between 4 months and 2 years.
Okay, so you think go with 6 months then?
Yeah, why not?
Okay. All right, and then the next column is the drop dead deadline for full funding, but the 60K covers the full project, so that's not applicable here. And then how long would you like the extension deadline to be? If there is an extension granted, you know, meaning we now have that language in the contracts.
3 months work for people?
Sure, why not?
Right, what's the difference?
If you think that 3 months is always going to be the amount, well, I guess we could keep doing it the way we're doing it, but I was just thinking if that is always what you're thinking.
Yeah, we're going to have that discussion before we ever do this again.
Okay,
then let's hang through these last few. Mike Falsetti, you have a comment?
Mr. Chairman, the War Memorial bid was from one company for $60,000. Now, as Lori points out, because it's over $10,000, you have to get additional quotes and so on and so forth. So the quotes may come in higher than if we're required to use prevailing wages. I'm not so sure the $60,000 are going to cover it. Let's hope. I pray they do. But the reality is, if I don't believe that was the company that quoted originally, the singular company that they based the $60,000 on was a union company or paid prevailing wages. Let me say that. So I'm just wondering if I hate to say this, but maybe $60,000 won't be enough. I mean, I hope it will. I think we all do. But the reality is, it may not.
So I think the way to handle that, Mike, is if it comes in above 60 and they need to come back to us for some more money, they just come back to us for some more money. We can bang that out. You know, I don't think we have to get crazy about.
It does, though I would suggest it depends on how much more. Well, if it's in the ballpark, sure. But when we approved this, I think part of the reason we were able to approve it was the price tag.
Right. Agreed. You know, right.
So, you know, if it comes in and the low bid is 62,000, you know, I'm sure we can bang that out. If it comes in and it's 70,000, but the other thing which it occurs to me we need to pay attention to in this situation is maybe if this has not gone to the city council yet, we should get back to them and see if they want to delay and, as it were, reapply when they have a firm quote, because neither we nor the city council can retroactively add to the final price tag of a project.
Yeah, I was just thinking that I need to get the correct terms in order to make this up to give to city council. So if you think that there's a chance it might change, it would be better to have all the facts.
Yeah, because we can't just say, and neither can the city council, fine, we'll give you more money. We can say we'll give you less, but we can't say we'll give you more. I mean, that's a state thing.
Yeah.
Way around
I
it.
mean, okay, here's my suggestion for how we deal with this one. Let's agree that on the contract terms that we're proposing, and then reach out, Amy, to the War Memorial and have them make sure that they're comfortable with that $60,000 number. And if they're not, then we won't submit the recommendation to the city council.
Sounds good to me.
If they are comfortable that the number's good, we'll submit it. So our work is done unless we hear something from them that says we need to ask for more money.
Yeah, probably Bob will be the one who will know the answer.
Okay, but I do know that one of the things, right? I don't think you can just go out from a public procurement perspective, and I might be wrong about this, but I don't think you can just go out and solicit bids unless you have funding. You can reject bids, if you find it to be in the best interest of the city, all bids, and you don't have to award it. But I don't think you are allowed to go out and ask for hard bids unless you've got funding available. So we might run into this.
Somebody's going to need to check into that.
Yeah. So, but we're good. So, okay. So that takes care of, is that all the terms on the War Memorial? We got the 6 months and
yeah, I mean, I'm assuming that the last column is a standard for the signage, a temporary sign while the work is being done, permanent sign as approved by me, and then a report due 30 days from completion.
Great. I think we're all in agreement on that. All right, so Jackson Street, what do we have on that one?
Aren't we going to Mayor Field next? I had that on the agenda.
Skip Mayor Field. Sorry, I didn't mean to do that.
Okay.
Thanks for catching that.
Okay, so Mayor Field is Parks and Recreation for $210,000 to Terry Shepard as the manager of that project. And this is what I got from Bob Parent, that he would prefer 9 months as the period to complete that project. The application had stated 4 months, but this may have referred to signing with the construction vendor, according to Bob. So
9 months. Everybody in agreement with that?
Yep.
9
okay,
months.
great. And then no drop dead deadline for funding, because this is fully covering the funding. Extension deadline 3 months.
Sure.
Yes.
Okay. Restriction, it's a city project, so no deed restriction must be recorded, or at least you haven't been requiring that. Also, Mayor Field is fully open to the public, so we don't have a concern about public benefit. All city procurement laws will be followed and confirmed, that will be taken care of. And then the reporting and signage is the same as the last one.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Make sure we have a sign.
Izzy's child agrees. Okay.
Yeah, she's in the background.
Rivera Field, they're going to rename that thing. You got them $210,000.
You can't do that. You can't do that. A lot of people will be upset. Mayor Field will be changed. You can't do that, bro. People will be up in arms.
Rivera Playscape. All right, so that's good with Mayor Field. Amy, that's all of the questions that you had for the committee on those contract terms?
Yeah, now I'm wondering if I got confused when I asked you earlier if Wisteria Hearst had asked for 9 months and if maybe that was for Mayor Field, but I can always find out from Bob. But I assume that you seem to remember that.
We give them too much time, it's not a problem.
Okay. All right, so then we're up to Jackson Street, which is just a specific thing because you already went over the chart for that one. But it's just the potential extension that needs to be added. And Jenna caught this because remember, this new language was put in to all the new contracts to put in an extension deadline if it's requested, but it wasn't done for Jackson Street. She can make the language changes on number 5, 18, and 14 terms in the contract as were done in the other. as was done. And let's see, they do not need the drop dead date on full funding since they have full funding except for in-kind donation from the Habitat for Humanity. Their contract is for 12 months total. And the areas that need the already approved language changes are as I mentioned, number 5, term, 8, the restriction, 14, the attachment. 14, the termination. And I did send you all the actual contract, I believe.
Yeah.
Well, I can't find it right now for me, but so I guess it's just the extension, but I don't have that contract in front of me right now.
Okay.
No, you're right.
Right.
Yeah.
So we've answered your questions on that one.
No, I need to know the extension. I guess I need to know the extension period for that.
So, okay.
Would it be 3 months or what?
What does the committee want to do?
Well,
3 months, 6 months for that one? Because it's a
I
little
would
more
think it's construction, so maybe 6 months is more appropriate.
Yes.
Okay. Everybody good with that? Okay. Does that answer it?
Okay, that's good. Possible I think that the other parts were done. Let's see. Yeah, I think that's the only thing that we need. Okay.
So we're all set on Jackson Street.
Yeah.
So we're on to agenda item number 4, which is a review of the Armour and Company contract, not contract terms.
Yeah, the actual contract, which I've sent to all of you, and it has the revised language for 5, 8, and 14 regarding the dates, the extensions, for clarity. Hold on.
Did anybody have a chance to review that? I mean, it looks like what we agreed to me.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
They're all set. So this we probably should take a vote on, right? Because we're approving a final contract. Make a motion to approve the Armour and Company grant agreement. Second.
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That was unanimous. I have as agenda item review of the VOC agreement. What do we have there, Amy? I'm sorry.
We skipped that, I think. No.
Is that
you did that already.
Okay.
I think you did that while Stephen Hunt was here. Yeah.
Okay.
You also did 6C already.
Right. And the others are just placeholders. I don't think anybody's ready to make a motion to fund anything else tonight, right?
I think that's fair.
Right. So we have, other would be the last agenda item. I don't know if anybody has anything they want to, Mike Falsetti?
Mr. Chairman, this is a letter from Amy regarding the project terms. I thought it was a good idea. It's dated 3/19/21, 5 minutes to 2. Hi all. It was from Amy, from Roberta Cameron, who works for the Medford CPA committee, and she defined the term in a manner that makes a lot of sense. So I'm just bringing that up for our next meeting. If Amy could with the chair's permission, that we look at this letter, all of us, and look at the definition of how they use the term and discuss it, because it makes a lot of sense to me anyway, but whatever is the will of the committee. It's an email from Amy. Like I said, it's 3/19/21, and it's Amy sent it to us regarding Roberta Cameron, chair of the Medford CPA, and how they define the term and how they use it in their contract negotiations. So it wouldn't be a bad idea if for our next meeting, we all look at that and read it, think about it, and give it some thought.
Sounds good to me. Also, nice to hear from Roberta, who helped us set up the committee way back when.
Yeah, she's really has a lot of information that's very helpful. She's now involved in 2 different communities, so CPA communities.
I'm scrolling through my emails and I'm not finding that one, but I will. So it was an email that Amy sent to us on 3/19?
Correct.
Okay.
I can dig it up and send it again.
That
would be great.
I mean, if I can't find it, Amy, I'll let you know. Okay, I should be able to find a email.
And I just wanted to mention there was unfortunate a mistake made that on the Lady Liberty contract, Jenna had said that it was waiting for you, Kip, to sign, as well as the rescission agreement for the BOC, but apparently she didn't look at the date at the top, and I guess she assumed it was the new Lady Liberty contract, which she had sent to Chris Sims, but it was the old one. And Chris Sims never actually sent the new one, even though he said he would do it right away. And you sign that. So it's now an executed contract, but it's not what the committee had agreed on. So I think what Jenna's proposal was to do is to just make an addendum and hope that they will sign it and agree to it.
Good idea.
Yeah. I think that's an excellent idea.
Good idea.
Amend it and let me know. I'll go down there and sign an amendment.
Yeah, I'm just a little concerned that, you know, with the communication with Chris Sims, it's been kind of difficult.
Well, then we won't get the executed agreement to him until he's responsive. So,
although there is this executed document, but hopefully he will actually sign a new addendum and it will be cleared up. It's just been a long delay on that contract. So
he doesn't have a signed copy of the agreement.
He did have the changed one. It was emailed to him and he never returned it signed, apparently.
Mike, what is it you want to say?
Mr. Chairman, if I could make a suggestion, when you get it, Mr. Chairman, and you sign it, the amended and correct contract, when you sign it, if you can make a copy of it or email it to me, I'm going to bring it over to Chris Sims' house and give it to him and have him sign it. Then I'll take it and I'll mail it to Amy, or I'll keep it. I'll give it back to you.
Okay.
Yeah, normally it would be sent, I think hard copies would be sent directly to Chris Sims. So if you want to actually deliver those hard copies and then get them back, that would be great.
Beautiful. No problem.
Okay.
That's okay with the committee, you know.
It's a plan.
Okay, anything else? Any others? Anybody have anything they want to add? Mary, thanks for coming. Rose and I talked a little bit this afternoon about, you know, a transition from Rosemary to Mary, and you know, you guys work that out. I do think that, you know, the only bureaucratic obstacle is that you do have to go and get like sworn in at the clerk's office and sign your name into a book. You've probably done that for other commissions or committees. So I don't know if there's COVID delay associated with that, or whether there's a way to waive that when you're not, you know, I don't know, but you guys figure that out, and whenever you're ready to.
Yeah, we have, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. We'll work it out when Rosemary comes back. There's no problem with that. When she was asking me this evening, or, you know, whenever it was, if I would be able to do it tonight, I was happy to, because I had plenty of questions in regards to a couple of the topics here tonight. But I want to say I really am impressed with how well you guys handled all of these different things. I thought that especially the business of the Victory Theater, it almost seemed as though you guys were an orchestra operating together on that one, because it went through, you know, really well. And it seemed like everybody had different questions and covered it all. So anyway, yeah, I don't understand all of the things that you're doing. And so I'll need some help as I go along. But yeah, Rosemary and I'll work the signing in and signing out business.
Okay, great.
We'll work that out.
All right, we're happy to help any way we can. Okay, all of us. I mean, I know committee members lean on each other for help along the way. So happy
if I may, Kip,
please.
I'm supposed to be transitioning out too. It's just the guy that I'm supposed to transition with at the time when he first started coming, he ended up catching COVID. So he kind of fell off. Not fell off the grid, but obviously he's been maintaining, right? Trying to take care of himself. He should be in the next Parks and Recs meeting that we have next Thursday. And I'll bring it up to him again to see if he's still willing to jump on board.
Okay.
Just so, I mean, I don't mind to continue doing it, but I was told that after 3 years, I have to change and someone else has to go.
I don't believe that's true, Izzy. You know,
yeah, you can actually be sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, I think it depends on the individual rules of your committee.
City council appointees are limited to 3-year terms, but I believe I've read it a few times that, you know, appointees of conservation, park and rec, historic, there's no term limit on those. You can stay as long as you want.
Well, my term limit on Parks and Rec is 3 years anyways, too.
Yeah.
So I think that's the I think they kind of run at the same time. Or mine doesn't, because I took over for Libby. So that's why mine ends before my actual term ends.
Right.
But I don't mind finishing until my Parks and Rec term ends, and then someone else can come in too.
Right.
But if we could find out more information on it, I don't mind staying on. It's actually it's gotten better over the last 6 months, 8 months, to be honest.
Yeah, no, it's good to have you. And if,
you,
for all I know, there's no reason you wouldn't be reappointed to Parks and Rec. It's just a matter if you wind up having to step down in January.
Right, that's the other part. Yeah.
Well, and you don't even have to be a committee member of Park and Rec to be their appointee to the CPA, I don't believe. You know, they can appoint anybody they want. Marco's not on the historical commission, but he's their appointee on this committee.
Oh, so I thought you had to be on the committee.
I thought that Marco was on the historical.
I am actually. I'm an alternate on the Holyoke Historical Commission.
Right. So, all right. Well, whatever. I could be wrong. I'm getting tired.
It's cool.
It's Holyoke.
Whatever. Figure it out and let us know what you're doing. I hope you can stay. It's been good working with you, Izzy.
Always a pleasure working with all of you guys as well.
And one last thing while we're talking about transitions, you know, we elect new officers at our first meeting in July, and
it's coming up fast.
And I've as the chair, so I am no longer, you know, I'm not going to be the chair anymore, and I'm going to prefer for this next year to not be any officer. I just want to be a member of the committee. So someone's going to have to step up into, you know, chairing these meetings and writing the agendas and signing contracts and stuff. So give that some thought to, you know, who's interested, who has the time, who's
got the gladiator boots and the sword.
I'm looking forward to July 1st. This is a lot of work. I mean, it is a lot of work.
Yeah, it is. It is a lot of work.
I've enjoyed it. Again, I'm not complaining. I've enjoyed it, but I'm done, thankfully, statutorily. But, you know.
Put it in the resume.
Yeah. Just give that some thought to Mike Falsetti. What do you got?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I don't mean to cut you out. I was just wondering if you want to select a time for our next meeting.
Yes, that's a good point. So when do we want to meet again? Amy, you suggested something late April would work for you.
I said that I think actually the safest might be April 7th, but if it were April 28th, that's also possible. And I think it will work out, but I you know, would have to kind of keep in touch with you to let you know for sure.
So look, I think April 7th is too soon for a whole bunch of reasons.
I agree.
Personal included, but so let's pop it for, what is it, 28th?
You know what? I'm sorry. I don't think I can do April 28th. I'm just looking right now and I have something going on then, unfortunately. Okay. So it might change, but right now I have something. So
how about the Mr. Chairman, how about the 21st? That's the third Wednesday of April. No?
That's not going to work, right, Amy?
Well, I'm just not sure because I'm having surgery in the middle of the month, so I'm not really sure how I'll be doing. And I might be, I don't know. It's sort of hard to know how I'll be feeling as I recover.
So that's why so we could go to, look, what do we want? Well, what if we schedule it for the 28th, Amy? And then if you can't make the 28th, we'll push it back a week. And we'll have plenty of time to deal with that. Does that work for everybody?
Okay, that sounds good.
Yep.
It may work on the 28th because it is in the evening, so it may be okay.
All right, so we'll tentatively pencil in the 28th. We'll schedule that meeting for the 28th. We're going to have, I think, a pretty small agenda. So it should be kind of a quick meeting. And if the 28th, we need to push it back a week, there isn't anything that's going on that can't wait another week.
Great.
That I can think of. All right, everybody?
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
We're all good? All right.
Make a motion, we adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
All right.
All right, everybody. Stay well.
Thank you all.
Thank
You guys
you.
have a good night.
Good
Bye.
meeting, folks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Meeting.
Bye.